in the A.S.S.U.R.E model is to analyze your learners. This is when you gather all the information you can about the students in your classroom. This could be the demographics, general characteristics, or learning styles of your students. The second step of the A.S.S.U.R.E model is to state your objectives. They should be specific and very measurable. Students should understand what these objectives are at the beginning of the unit so that they know what is expected of them until the end. The third step of the A.S.S.U.R.E model is to select media and materials. These may be materials that are already available. You can also modify existing materials or design new ones to help you complete your unit. The next step is to utilize the media and materials chosen in the last step. Instructors should preview the materials, prepare the learning environment, and provide instruction. The next step is to actually require learner performance or participation. Learners should practice what they have learned. They should actively be involved with the materials and media you selected. Formative assessment should be given, students should work in small groups, and feedback should be given by the instructor before any type of final evaluation is administered. The final step of the A.S.S.U.R.E model is to evaluate and revise. This is when you ask yourself, what went well, what didn't go so well, what would I change if I could do it again? So why choose the A.S.S.U.R.E model? One reason I love it is because it puts an emphasis on thorough learner analysis right at the beginning. Another reason I love it is because of the material selection and development process. You can use things that are already out there. The last thing I like about it is that it requires teacher feedback throughout the process. In my interactive learning module, 4th graders will be learning about a famous Missourian. I believe learning styles will have an impact on my instructional design as I worked through the analysis step of the A.S.S.U.R.E model. As I select media and materials, I hope to find some first-hand sources, videos, and possibly some web-based applications that my students can use to create a timeline of their famous Missourian's life. I think cooperative learning is a great way to require learner participation, so I plan on incorporating that into my unit so that students can get feedback from their peers as well as from me before our final presentation day. These are just a couple of sources that I found if you're interested in learning more about the A.S.S.U.R.E instructional design model. Thanks for watching my video.
Created using Powtoon.
And technology while focusing on the learner's needs. The primary goal of this model is to produce effective teaching and learning approach. These goals serve as a guide for teachers in planning and conducting instruction using instructional technology. The A.S.S.U.R.E model has the 6 steps, each represented by a letter in the acronym title, with each step describing a set of tasks essential to the informed selection and use of educational technology. The A.S.S.U.R.E model stands for these important components: A for analyze learners, S for state objectives, S for select methods, media, and materials, U for utilize methods, media, and materials, R for require learners' participation, and E for evaluate and revise. So now, I will discuss to you the essential steps of the A.S.S.U.R.E model and planning instruction. First step is to analyze the learners. The A.S.S.U.R.E model begins by analyzing the learners. In this process is that the teacher should analyze the attributes of his or her learners.
There should be a focus on those learner characteristics which are associated with the learning outcomes desired. It should be identified such as general attributes of the learners, including age, academic abilities, gender, interest, core competencies, and learning style.
Second is state objectives. The objectives needs to be specific and measurable. It should be outline the intended outcomes and expectations.
The teacher must state standards and objectives for the learning module. This statement consists of specification of what the learners will be able to do as a result of instruction.
Objectives can be used in assessing the success of students, perhaps for the grading process. Also, you can use them to let the learners know what they will accomplish through the class. The third step is to select methods, media, and materials. This step helps teachers to select the media that will use and how to deliver the content. Given what your learning objectives are, it's necessary to pick instructional methods, media, and materials that will bring about the result that you want.
At this step, the instructor should connect the learners to the objectives. To connect the two, the teacher must determine what method to use.
First, you should figure out what or which delivery method will be best for your instruction.
The strategies the teacher can use to this step, such as lecture, demonstration, or showing a video. The second are strategies such as group discussion or cooperative group work.
The fourth step is utilize methods, media, and materials. This step in the A.S.S.U.R.E process concerns making a plan as how well you utilize methods, media, and materials that you have selected. The utilize methods, media, and materials is where you develop your plan for implementing your media and materials.
In this step, it should be focused on carrying out the selected method. If you decide to use electronic equipment, be sure to use it before, even practice it if you have to ensure the equipment is functioning properly.
In that, it is also important to practice the lesson itself before introducing it to the learner. The fifth step is the required learner participation. In this step, it requires you to describe how you are going to get each learner actively and individually involved in the lesson. Students learn best when they are actively involved in the learning experience.
Whatever your teaching strategy, be sure to incorporate questions and answers, discussions, group works, hands-on activities, and other ways of getting students actively involved in the learning of the content.
The last step of the A.S.S.U.R.E model is evaluate students' performance. Here, the evaluation should be matched to the objective.
Ultimately, this last step is the most important. You must evaluate the instruction process from start to finish using the objectives you created in the beginning. It is helpful to reflect on your objectives, the instructional strategy, instructional materials, and the assessment.
By evaluating the learners against the objectives, it can be determined if the lesson was effective or whether any step needs to be modified or re-examined.
By following the process of the A.S.S.U.R.E model will help improve your skills in teaching and enhance your students' learning experience. That's all for today, everyone. I hope you've learned something. Thank you for watching.
Subjects in current events. What is A.S.S.U.R.E model? The A.S.S.U.R.E model is an instructional system or guideline that teachers can use to develop lesson plans which integrate the use of technology and media, according to Small Deneau, Lowther and Russell, 2008. The A.S.S.U.R.E model has 6 steps, each represented by a letter in the acronym title, with each step describing a set of tasks central to the informed selection and use of educational technology. The A.S.S.U.R.E acronym stands for these important components: A. Analyze learners, S. State objectives, S. Select methods, media and materials, U. Utilize methods, media and materials, R. Require learner participation, and E. Evaluate and revise. Now let us discuss each of the component of the model. First, analyze learners. The first step in the process is to find out the characteristics of the students. It is very important to identify students so that they can be considered in developing goals. The weaknesses and strengths of the students must be discovered. Through this, the tasks that the teacher will assign to them in the classroom are in accordance with their abilities. The teacher will not fail in his or her plan when students can perform the assigned tasks. The analysis of your learners should include the general attributes of your learners, such as age, academic abilities, gender, interests, etc., prior competencies, their weaknesses and strengths and skills, and their learning styles, such as auditory, visual, and tactile. Second, state objectives. The stated objectives are statements describing what the learner will do as a result of instruction. In other words, objectives are the learning outcomes, that is, what will the student will learn from the lesson? The mark of a good set of learning objectives is conformity to the ABCDs of well-stated learning objectives. They are as follows: A. Audience, For whom is the objective intended? B. Behavior. What is the behavior or performance to be demonstrated? C. Conditions. What are the conditions under which the behavior or performance will be observed? D. Degree. To what degree will the knowledge or skill be mastered? The objective statement should be formulated with verbs that pinpoint the learning objective. A useful guide to the appropriate verbs to use is contained in Bloom's taxonomy. Third, select methods, media and materials. After the objectives have been formulated, the most effective and appropriate method to be used in delivering the lesson will be selected. The method that corresponds to the lesson and the objectives. Definitely in performing tasks, it requires materials. This time, the teacher will choose appropriate and available materials to be used in teaching. Make sure that the materials will help to make teaching learning process easy, and make the concept of the topic to be taught clear. Fourth, utilize methods, media and materials. The utilize methods, media and materials step is where you develop your plan for implementing your media and materials. For each type of media or materials, the teacher selects and describes how they are going to implement the media or material into your lesson to help your learners meet the lesson's objective. To get maximum learning impact from your presentation, you must follow certain utilization procedures. Preview the materials. Practice the presentation. Prepare the environment or classroom. Present the material. And prepare the learner. Fifth, require learner participation. The fifth step in the A.S.S.U.R.E model is to provide opportunities for learners to practice the capability being taught. The participation of students is essential to carry out the lesson plan. Students need to be encouraged to participate in any discussion or activity. To ensure 100% student participation, provide collaborative activities or small group activities. Each member will be given the opportunity to share his or her knowledge of the topic and the work. It is also important to evaluate and provide feedback after students' performances. And sixth, evaluate and revise. The final step in the A.S.S.U.R.E process is just as crucial as all of the others. In this step, you evaluate the impact of your teaching on student learning. This includes an evaluation of your teaching strategies and the technology, media, and materials that you used. The following questions are useful to ask during this evaluation. 1. Did your lesson meet the learning objectives that you planned? How will you determine whether the students reach the objectives? Is your way of assessing the students in line with your learning objectives? 2. Can this lesson be improved? How? How are you going to assess the weaknesses in your presentation? 3. Was your choice of media and materials a good one? How will you assess the effectiveness of these tools? And 4. Is it possible that other technologies, media, and materials would have done a better job? Planning is very important in order to follow the teaching process and fully implement what you plan to do. In planning, it is good to consider for the A.S.S.U.R.E model. This model will help teachers to make their teaching system adequate. Thank you for watching. Be updated, subscribe updated channel.